Good evening, everyone. If I can ask you to take your seats. I have the time is 7:30, so I will call the public hearing and regular business meeting of the mayor and council for the city of Snellville, Georgia for Monday, November 8th, 2021 to order. I'd like to start first on a sad note before I even call up our person for the invocation, and just ask for a moment of silence for the loss of Jackson County Sheriff's Deputy Lena Marshall. If you could please bow your heads and just take a moment of silence, please. Thank you all. It's always very difficult when we lose a member of our law enforcement community. It just brings home the work that these men and women do for us, and how precious life is. And now I'd like to move to the invocation and call on Chaplain Jackie Turner to provide the invocation. Please come on up to the podium. Thank you.
Will you bow your heads in prayer with me? God of all creation, we come before you today to give you honor and praise. You are worthy of all of our praise. You are the source of all that is good. You are the source of all of our blessings, and we thank you for every gift that we have been given. We thank you for the opportunity to come together and gather on this day. We ask for your hand and your blessings on this meeting. We ask, God, that you would bless the city council, each and every member. We ask that you would bless our officers here in Snellville. We ask, God, that you would show grace, God, and mercy to those that lost their sheriff in Jackson County. God, we thank you, God, because we know that all these things are in your control, God, and you can do all things, God, but fail. We ask, God, that you would guide and direct this meeting so that it is full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another. We thank you for helping us accomplish this work and the goals that we set for this day. Amen.
Thank you so much, Chaplain. And now we'll have the pledge to the flag led by Jay Crowley.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our chairs are rubbing up here, so we're squeaking together. And we've got some fun things on our ceremonial matters. We've got the swearing in of 3 council members. And we'll start with council member for post 3, Christy Linsky.
Asking Mayor Tom Witz to join us and hold my prayer book, which is actually from Poland, my godmother, Louise. And Father Syriac, if you could join us as well, while I take my oath.
Christy, not behind the podium, either from one side or the other.
Okay.
There you go.
I, note I would not be here today if it weren't for Tom Witz, who first suggested that I should possibly be on council. And he was really the first individual who believed that I could do this.
And you made me proud ever since.
Thank you. I did one job and I lost my place.
Try to break it out.
It's okay. And just let me read it. Okay.
And then there's the long copy.
Refinance. That's it. Thank you.
And next, we will administer the oath of office to Councilmember Post 4, Gretchen Schultz. Gretchen and Christy were both unopposed in this council race.
I'd like to invite Dr. Quincy Brown, senior pastor at Snellville United Methodist Church, to join me with my husband Kurt. And we have this Bible is generations old. It has been passed down from my dad's side of the family. 1807, printed in Philadelphia. It's written in German. Yeah. I state your name. I, Gretchen Schultz, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully perform the duties of Council Post 4 of this city. That I will faithfully perform the duties of Council Post 4 of this city. And that I will support and defend the Charter. And that I will support and defend the Charter thereof. As well as the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia. As well as the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia. And of the United States of America. Come here, Kurt. Thank you, Kathy.
And while Gretchen's finishing up signing the oath of office, if Todd Warner, if you want to step down for Councilmember Post 5.
See, we all have old Bibles. See, if you don't use them much, they last a long, long time. Come on, Dad.
You want me to leave that there?
So this Bible, I got Jay, but sure, anybody can take a picture. Our Bible's been in our family. This is the one I got sworn in on 2.5 years ago. It's a Reconstruction Bible, so it's like 1868 is the date, and it's been handed down my father's side for a long time. So come stand over here. Who's going to hold it? Since about 1868.
Smart
Yeah,
ass.
it's heavy. You may have to switch off. I'm not going to carry it. Oh, so, okay. I think I got it. Do I hold my hand up?
I state your name.
I, Tom Warner,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully perform the duties of Council Post 5
that I will faithfully city of Snellville,
that I will support and defend the charter thereof,
that I will support and defend the charter thereof,
as well as the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia,
as well as the Constitution and the laws of the state of Georgia
and of the United States of America. Thank you. We'll go step this back down. Oh, I guess we can get pictures. Anybody? Okay. You're on the internet, aren't you? No, I'm not.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
And now I have two proclamations. They're proclamations for two separate actions, but they happened with the same two officers. So I'm going to read both proclamations, and then we'll present them to the officers. I think will be the easiest way to do this. So Proclamation 2021-17, Life-Saving Actions of Officer, am I going to say this right? DeVries. I keep getting the emphasis on the wrong syllable. And Officer Thorpe. Whereas on October 10th, 2021, Officer A. DeVries, am I saying that right? Okay, and Officer A. Thorpe, I'm thinking about it now, so I can't keep it going. And Officer A. Thorpe were working night shift for the Snellville Police Department. And whereas Officer DeVries and Officer Thorpe received a call of a person down at a residence off Pine Road, Snellville, Georgia. And whereas Officer DeVries and Officer Thorpe quickly responded to the emergency call for service, arrived on scene, and located the person down inside the home. And whereas Officer DeVries checked vital signs for the victim and determined that he was not breathing and there was no pulse. And whereas Officer DeVries immediately began CPR on the victim, while this was taking place, Officer Thorpe administered to the victim his departmental-issued naloxone. Am I saying that right? And whereas Officer DeVries continued chest compressions until the arrival of Gwinnett County EMS, and whereas Officer DeVries and Officer Thorpe assisted Gwinnett County EMS to remove the victim from a bedroom, and whereas the victim began to breathe on his own and was able to be transported to the hospital for treatment, and whereas had it not been for the quick and professional actions of Officer DeVries and Officer Thorpe, it is likely that the victim would have died. Therefore, I, Barbara Bender, Mayor of the City of Snellville, Georgia, where everybody's proud to be somebody, do hereby join with our City Council and the citizens of Snellville to recognize Officer A. DeVries and Officer A. Thorpe for their dedicated service and for their life-saving efforts on October the 10th, 2021, proclaimed this 8th day of November, 2021. And for Proclamation 2021-18, again, the life-saving actions of Officer DeVries and Officer Thorpe. And essentially, we have the same situation where they received a call and a person was down at a residence off of Park Lane, Snellville, Georgia. And the officers quickly responded to the emergency call for service, arrived on the scene, and located the person down inside the home. And Officer DeVries checked vital signs for the victim and determined that he was not breathing and there was no pulse. and Officer DeVries immediately called for an ambulance and began CPR on the victim. While this was taking place, Officer Thorpe administered to the victim his departmental-issued naloxone, and Officer DeVries continued chest compressions until the victim began to breathe on his own. And the victim was able to be transported to the hospital and survived the medical emergency. And whereas had it not been for the quick and professional actions of Officer DeVries and Officer Thorpe, it is likely that the victim would have died. Therefore, I, Barbara Bender, Mayor of the City of Snellville, Georgia, where everybody's proud to be somebody, do hereby join with our City Council and the citizens of Snellville to recognize Officer A. DeVries and Officer A. Thorpe for their dedicated service and for their life-saving efforts on October the 5th, 2021. Proclaim this 8th day of November, 2021. I can't say enough, and we all proclaim it from this dais, how blessed we are with the officers that we have here in the city of Snellville. They are all so very dedicated, they are well-trained, and they handle their responsibilities professionally and humanely. And I think this goes above and beyond that they have saved 2 victims here from apparent drug overdoses, which is another prevalent issue that we've got in the community. So please, let's give a great round of applause to our 2 officers, and if you can come down. And now we'll move on to the minutes approval. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of the October 25th, 2021 meetings.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor and none opposed. We have no invited guests or committee or department reports, so we'll move to the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve tonight's agenda, November 8th, 2021.
There's a motion to approve the agenda as published. Is there a second?
Second.
With a motion and a second, all in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor and none opposed. And now we have one item under our public hearing. We have item A, second reading, ANX 21-02, LUP 2105, RZ 2105. Consideration and recommendation on applications by Scenic Point LLC, the applicant, and Lillian Margine Mulder Trust, property owner, requesting, number 1, annexation to the municipal boundary of the city of Snellville, Georgia. 2, to amend the Snellville 2040 Comprehensive Plan future land use map to commercial retail. 3, to amend the official zoning map to BG General Business District. And 4, request for variances from the Unified Development Ordinance for the 8.93 acre site tract located at 1498 Scenic Highway, Snellville, for a mixed retail commercial office subdivision development. Tax parcel 5074007. This is a public hearing, and the way this will go, if anyone's not familiar, is Mr. Thompson, our planning director, will give a summary of the project. The applicant will have 10 minutes to speak on behalf of the project, and then we will allow council members to ask questions, and then we will open the floor to public comment. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you, everyone that came out tonight. As the Mayor stated, we have 3 applications in front of us tonight, the first being Annexation 21-02, then the Associated Land Use Plan Amendment, LUP 21-05, which is a request to a future land use plan to be marked as commercial retail, and the rezoning application for BG, or the Business General District, for a commercial retail, 7-lot retail food service and office subdivision development that's located on the corner of North Road and Scenic Highway. The property owner is the Lillian Margarine Mulder Trust. The applicant is Scenic Point LLC, and they are being represented here tonight by attorney Jack Wilson, and go through their proposed site plan. As you can see above, is a 7-lot subdivision. There's a 1/4 acre or so park on the north end with a welcome to Snellville sign that the developer is proposing. There's also an access drive located on North Road, as well as an entrance point on Scenic, and then a public-private street that's connected to a light there across from, I believe that's Stratford Drive. And the long-term goal, I believe, of the DOT is to actually cul-de-sac the end of North there, as it abuts 124. As we all know, it can be a very hazardous traffic situation. But the applicant has proposed the site as is, with only a couple of tenants identified at this time, one ale house, and most of the other ones being quick service restaurant components. And according to our code, there's a requirement where if there's any right-of-way less than 60 feet, that there be a 10-foot undisturbed and 20-foot planted buffer where that happens. And that happens, as you can see on the North Road, where it kind of skinnies down, but it's not the extent of the entire property. And the applicant, after hearing some of the concerns from the neighboring citizens, came back. They actually asked for an extension, and they've come up with 20-foot planted buffer so that they can grade it out and get in good tree material to buffer the sound and any other effects or adverse effects that the citizens may have from the development. There also will be a request for a variance on lot number 2 to move what was the trash can from the rear to the front to get it away from any residential pickups, and we recommend approval for that variance. According to the comp plan, this commercial mixed development is in accordance with pretty much everything that's up and down Scenic Highway. It fits into the vision for the character area. They have met all the, at this time that we know of, the landscaping requirements, and plan to meet those if they're not shown on here. And we recommend approval of the annexation, which was duly advertised per the state law. We had no official correspondence from Gwinnett County or objections or suggested conditions or anything within the legally allowable time frame. So we recommend condition of the rezoning and conditions, or the annexation land use plan amendment and the rezoning with the conditions that were presented to you. I understand there were some changes that the council would like to make, and they can do that. We can discuss those now, or we can wait until a motion is made, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions that anyone may have regarding the conditions, the variances, or the project overall.
Any members of council that have a question for Mr. Thompson?
I do, Madam Mayor. In your presentation Mr. Thompson, you mentioned there's a variance for Lot 2 to move the waste receptacle to the front. In the packet that we have before us and all the drawings that I've seen are on Lot 1 where that change has been made.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to
I must
make
have
sure
spelled
that
that
we
wrong.
were.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, all right.
Sorry about that.
No, then you're off the hook.
All right, good.
Ordinance is correct.
The ordinance is
Yeah,
correct.
my bad. I've
No
seen
problem.
those dumpsters move several times since we started this.
Just another question.
Yes,
Did
ma'am.
the Planning Commission, Jason, include a recommendation to condition the limited hours of operation for this proposed development?
They did, and then after the amendment to the plan and the addition of a wall, or not a wall, but an opaque fence adjacent to, I think the biggest concern was Lot 2 with the drive-through and then the drive-through speakers. With them being willing to buffer that with an opaque fence and even denser plantings, we felt like it wasn't a need for time provision on a restaurant that typically runs 24 hours a day. So we removed that from their recommendations, but that's still part of, the Planning Commission did make that recommendation.
Any other council members with a question for Mr. Thompson? Okay, thank you,
Oh,
Jason.
one thing I would
Oh.
like to add is that this development is governed by the UDO's lighting standards, meaning that all lighting has to be cut off down directional and cannot bleed over a very minimal foot candle over any property lines. So light pollution will be greatly reduced, if not totally eliminated, to the adjacent residents.
Thank you,
Jason,
Yes, ma'am.
could you just explain what we talked about in our work session about there will be no signage on North Road? Could
Yeah,
you
part of
explain
the-
that to the citizens?
Yes, ma'am. Part of one of the conditions that we have recommended is that in order to keep North Road as a more residential type street, that all the monument signage will be submitted as one under a master signage plan, where each parcel will have their own sign and they'll all be the same size, with the exception, I believe, of Lot 2 will share a sign for the property on the northernmost lot that abuts actually North Road, so that they can have some sign visibility as well. But we'll approve that all at once instead of one by one, and that'll be part of the covenants of the development.
Okay, we good? Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you.
And now is the applicant here if you'd like to come and present the project?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I'm Jack Wilson. My office address is 10 Lumpkin Street in Lawrenceville. I represent the applicant, Scenic Point LLC. Mr. Ronnie Thomas is the owner of that company. He's with me here tonight. He's been a real estate developer in Gwinnett County for more than 25 years, has participated in several projects in Snellville, including Park Place. That was his development. He was also, he and his partners were instrumental in the redevelopment of the Best Buy and the repurposing of that for 12 Stone Church. The owner of the property is the Lillian Mulder Trust, as you heard, and some of you may remember Ms. Mulder. She lived on that property for most of her life. She didn't have any children. She was a member of Mount Zion Baptist Church across the street, and her estate plan was basically to create a trust which would be funded by the sale of this property, and those proceeds used to benefit the church and several other charitable organizations that she identified in her estate plan, all administered through the community foundation. So we're doing good in multiple ways in the application tonight and in the ultimate sale and execution of the transaction that's proposed for this property, both for the church and for other local charities. I know you probably recall earlier this year there was an application by a different developer, not this applicant, to rezone this property for multifamily uses. Gwinnett County, the Board of Commissioners denied that request in the face of opposition from the community and I think official opposition from the city. I think everybody recognizes that a multifamily use is not proper at this location for this property. That leaves the question of what is appropriate and what is a viable use for this property. We believe we found it in the mixed use commercial development that you see before you tonight. This use is consistent with the Gwinnett County land use plan. The future land use comprehensive plan calls for this to be a commercial use. It's consistent, obviously, with uses along Scenic Highway in the area. The property immediately on the right-hand side, as you look at the drawing, is Sam's, and we do propose some interparcel connectivity to Sam's. We've asked for permission to gain access there, and that request is pending in Arkansas, so we hope to get approval from them to be able to have interparcel access there also. I wanted to talk a little bit about the annexation first and then move to talk about some of the zoning issues. We believe, and my client very much wants this project to happen in the city. As I mentioned before, he's had other projects in the city that he's worked with the city on. The city's development regulations are a good bit more robust and demanding than the county regulations, but we believe that's a good thing. We believe it makes for a better product. We believe it creates more value for the community, for the city, and for the end users. This annexation would increase the city's tax base considerably by creating 7 new commercial or office buildings inside the city limits. It also pushes the city limits to the north along Scenic Highway, creates a new gateway for the city in that location, and also opens the door to future annexations if the other side of North Road were to be redeveloped, for example, or if applicants on the other side of Scenic Highway or further north on Scenic Highway would seek to come into the city. We had 2 community meetings this summer in August and September with neighbors, people inside and outside the city were invited and participated. Our first had about 15 people from up and down North Road, and our second had about 10. I think we have a lot fewer folks here tonight, and I think part of the reason for that is that we were able to address a lot of the concerns that we heard in modifying the documents and the conditions to provide if not everything, at least much of what our neighbors have asked for in terms of buffering and screening this property. I want to say just a few things and explain some of the changes that we've made in the last few weeks. There were some questions about trees and preserving trees. We did a tree study as required by the city's tree ordinance. That found really only one eligible specimen tree. That was a pine tree. As for the rest, you can see our landscaping plan there, and there is a significant number, a significant volume of trees that will be replanted. Our landscape architect tells us that we're 328 caliper over the city's ordinance requirements. So we're hitting the mark there and doing our best to replant where we can to make this attractive. We heard questions about lighting, and all of our lighting is in cutoff type luminaries to prevent bleeding or light pollution as much as we can. Your UDO requirements are fairly rigid in that regard, and we will meet those requirements. The lighting will be directed down as required by your codes. We also got some feedback about dumpster locations, drive-through speakers and that sort of thing, and part of what we've done in the last few weeks is refine the site plan and revise it so that we've addressed those concerns with some additional buffering and some relocation of those features, as you heard about just a minute ago from Jason. On the far left-hand corner, I did want to point this out, on the far left-hand corner of that drawing, on the point, there is a little pocket park that we propose where we would construct signage and then provide an easement for the city to have access to it and maintain it, but that's consistent with, it'd be a new gateway sign for the city in that location, consistent with your branding and themes and that kind of thing, subject to your approval. But that will be a feature in the park location. As far as the conditions go, I just wanted to touch on really one of those in some detail, and that's the condition that has to do with this buffer. We've had a lot of discussions with the neighbors about the buffer. I understand up and down North Road, historically, there's been some undisturbed buffer at the back of those commercial developments to provide some relief for residents and users on the other side of North Road. We took some pictures of the undisturbed buffer behind the Kroger, and as you might imagine, it varies pretty widely. I'm sorry for the glare, and if I knew how to fix that, I would, but these are just some shots. Should I go closer? Thank you. As I said, it varies. Some places it's better than others, but on the whole, we believe an undisturbed buffer really doesn't serve the purpose. It doesn't screen the development from neighbors or travelers along North Road. What we've proposed instead of a scraggly looking undisturbed buffer is an enhanced replanted landscape buffer. And this is from our landscape plan. That's an elevation view from North Road looking into this property. This is, our landscape architect put this together based on the plant material that we show on our plan and the plant material that we've agreed to install under the terms of that plan and in conformance with your conditions and your development requirements. And we submit that that is far superior to what we looked at just a second ago with an undisturbed buffer where there may be gaps, there may be pine trees, there may be a unsightly kind of overgrowth, undergrowth that nobody really wants to look at. So we would ask that you revise the staff proposed condition 8 to take out the 10-foot undisturbed strip just because it doesn't do much, and instead approve a 20-foot enhanced buffer in accordance with this plan that we submit would look much more attractive. I'll just say one last thing and then reserve my time for rebuttal if I can. I mentioned that my client very much wants to be in the city, and he does, but if you're in a place where you can't provide for this issue with the buffer, we'd ask respectfully that you just deny our annexation and let us go back to the county. That condition and that 20 feet as opposed to 30 is very problematic for us. The site is somewhat constrained in its shape. It's triangular, obviously. The condition with the point and the dedication of the land for the park. Also, we've got some pretty severe GDOT exactions on Scenic Highway where they have unfunded plans for future improvements, but part of their permitting process for us requires us to dedicate extra right-of-way to them on that side, even though they don't have any funds or current plans to develop. So our site's compressed from both sides. We certainly hope you can accommodate us on the buffer, and we think that our buffer proposal is better than what you have behind Kroger and Walmart. But if you disagree, we'd rather not get in a place where we're inside the city but then can't build the project. So we'd respectfully ask your approval of the annexation and your approval of the land use plan amendment and the rezoning with the conditions that we've talked about. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have and reserve any time I have for rebuttal.
Do any members of council have questions of the applicant?
Mr. Wilson, the drawing as shown to us here tonight and it has been submitted shows the extension of Stratford Drive bisecting the property. Will that become a public street? And if so, who is footing the bill for the new public street and the improvements thereto?
Yes, sir. To answer those questions, yes, it will become a public street. The costs will be borne by my client, the developer, through the development process, both of the street improvements and of the traffic light intersection improvements at Stratford. That is a requirement of GDOT and Gwinnett County in order to gain access to the property. They sort of insist that our internal street align with an existing street there at Stratford. I think there's one added benefit to that part of the transportation equation, is that Gwinnett County has a long-range plan in the Gwinnett DOT to cul-de-sac this end of North Road where it empties out onto Scenic Highway at the point on this drawing. They've always had this plan, and basically it's contingent on having this stoplight at Stratford and creating alternate access there as opposed to the dragway, for lack of a better term, down North Road to shoot out to Scenic Highway. So we think that's sort of an added benefit of this project, is it speeds that plan along. It puts the cost of much of that on my client as the developer, and hopefully it brings some traffic calming to this area of North Road.
And I know Gwinnett County in their plan has a greenway that extends either down North Road and crosses Highway 124 at Stratford Drive, or it comes down 124, depending on which version of the map you look at. Is that taken into account in this proposal?
I don't believe that greenway reaches our property, so no, sir, it's not.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other members of council with questions for Mr. Wilson?
What kind of dynamic businesses are you in negotiations with for this proposed development?
Sure. So I'll qualify my answer and I think you hit on it exactly. These are discussions right now, nothing signed or anything, but a couple of we think are exciting new faces for our area that we don't have now. One is the lot, and this lot is potentially a Miller's Ale House. There's one in Cumming on Peachtree Parkway. That's the closest one that I know of. But it's a sports-oriented, restaurant and entertainment type facility. Also, Whataburger, which we don't. It's just being introduced into Metro Atlanta. I understand there's one planned for Kennesaw or Cobb, but nothing on this side of town yet. So those are the couple of new faces that we would hope to see. I would point out that this back building has sort of been reserved and dedicated for a proposed office. We're hoping a medical office, which would also provide some benefit to the community. That also gives us some different traffic peaks in terms of internal circulation. To have that office use there in the daytime, to have more traffic that would not be there at night, and free up circulation for the other commercial uses.
Mr. Wilson, would your applicant be agreeable to adding an opaque fence on the inside of the buffer to further screen the North Road residents from the development?
Yes, ma'am, we would.
That would be an 8-foot-high fence.
That's fine. We'll do that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes and 52 seconds remaining.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, so I will open the floor to public comment, and I will give the public 10 minutes, 15 minutes, my timekeeper here, to speak for or against. And I see we already have one. It's a cumulative 15 minutes for everyone who wants to speak. Thank you, ma'am. And if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Gay Bruce, 1710 Woodbury Run Drive in Snellville. I come before you tonight as a homeowner in the Woodbury subdivision and a regular voter in the city of Snellville. Since my email to you on November 6, 2021, I have become aware of recent submissions by the applicant and city and planning development staff regarding the annexation and rezoning application for 1498 Scenic Highway, so my remarks tonight will supersede my November 6 email. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the applicant, Ronnie Thomas, and his attorney, Jack Wilson, for the time they have invested in the 2 meetings with members of the community regarding this annexation and rezoning application. Regarding the annexation application, I, as many other Woodbury homeowners, are excited about the proposed annexation of the Mulder parcel into the city, as we feel that the annexation would be an asset to the community and would allow Snellville Police to patrol this area. I appreciate the applicant's desire to donate a portion of the land to the city for a passive park and honoring the memory of Ms. Mulder, and ask that you vote to approve the annexation of this land. Regarding the rezoning application, I have the following comments and requests. I'm extremely appalled and extremely disappointed that the applicant chose to make a campaign donation of $600 to the recent re-election campaign of Councilman Warner when he knew that he had an active rezoning application coming before you tonight. If Councilman Warner accepted the donation, I request that he recuse himself from any further proceedings in this case. In the Snellville Code of Ordinances, Appendix A, the Unified Development Ordinance, under letter C for minimum buffer strips, items 1 and 5 state, buffers must be undisturbed and may contain no structures except walls, fences, or structures otherwise allowed in the buffer by this UDO. And a 20-foot undisturbed buffer is required when a non-residential use is separated from a residential district by a public right-of-way that is 60 feet wide or less. No access to this buffer is allowed. The buffer may be reduced or eliminated with written consent of the affected residential property owner. This is a picture of the current buffer and berm across from the Woodbury entrance behind Walmart. The proposed commercial building fronting North Road goes against established precedent the city of Snellville has made to not have commercial businesses fronting North Road from Forest Road north to where North Road intersects with Scenic Highway. I am requesting the city uphold previous precedent and require the applicant to change the development as proposed to eliminate the commercial building that fronts North Road and the accompanying curb cut. Doing so will eliminate added traffic and congestion near Forest Elementary School while continuing to uphold the Snellville 2040 Unified Development Plan. In addition, the applicant is planning a total of 7 buildings in this proposed development with 6 fronting Scenic Highway. In one of the meetings the applicant held with the community regarding the proposed development, the applicant stated he is having difficulty finding tenants for the development the city approved a few years ago at Forest Road and Scenic Highway because there is no interest by possible commercial tenants to be located on lots that do not front Scenic Highway. In the Mulder development as proposed, the applicant has mentioned Whataburger, Miller's Ale House, and City Barbecue as potential tenants. Given the fact that the city approved a development by the same applicant a few years ago without first having secured definite tenants, the city now has vacant lots on Forest Road and Tree Lane Road that are creating blight. When deciding on this rezoning application tonight, I ask that you seriously consider the current eyesore this applicant has created and not yet remedied just a few blocks from the proposed development. On November 1st, 2021, a modified site plan indicates the trees planned for the buffer are shown on the site plan as mature growth, but does not include their size at the time of planting. Depending on the type of tree, it can take 10+ years for some of the planned trees to reach their mature growth size. As an added visual and sound buffer to the proposed development along North Road, I request the applicant be required to install trees that are a minimum height of 10 feet at the time of planting. To eliminate traffic backup within the proposed development, I request the curb cut for Pad 1, that's closest to Scenic Highway, be eliminated. Also, I request that Pad 2 be turned 90 degrees and the curb cut be moved closer to where the proposed Stratford Drive extension intersects with North Road, as in this diagram. For beautification and aesthetics, I request that a landscaping strip be added between each individual parcel. Some pads in the proposed development show a loading zone and some do not. For the ones that do show a loading zone, they seem randomly placed and not practical for large trucks. I request the planning and development staff analyze the loading zones and that the plans for these modified be adjusted as necessary to accommodate large trucks and be consistent throughout the development. To be consistent with other retail developments in the city located near single-family homes, I request the addition of a deed restriction in compliance with the city's newly modified noise ordinance specifying hours for trash pickup and parking lot cleaning for noise abatement purposes, and that signage be posted at each street entrance to the development of such deed restriction. Regarding signage, I ask that the development be allotted a main multi-tenant identification sign at the development entrance on Scenic Highway and at the intersection of the extension for Stratford Drive, and signage on each building with no individual monument signs and no signage fronting North Road. Regarding variances that were submitted by the applicant at the September 28, 2021 Planning Commission public hearing for variance item 5 on page 3 of 13, I request that it be restated to read, exemption from non-conforming issues on individual parcels created at the time of subdivision shall be limited to only those described and approved in this rezoning. Regarding conditions requested by the applicant, I request that they be replaced with the city's staff planning and development conditions only recommendations dated November 4th, 2021, with one correction for item 6, that the sentence which begins prior to sign construction be changed to read, prior to the sign construction and final sign design shall be approved by the mayor and council. This will match the wording of the Planning and Development October 25th, 2021 case summary analysis. Regarding variances requested by the applicant on November 1st, 2021, I request they be replaced with the city's staff planning and development variances only recommendations dated November 4th, 2021, with the exception regarding the Planning Commission's adoption of on September 28, 2021, of the condition prohibiting 24-hour restaurant use. If mayor and council agree to this added variance, I would not object. I request that any approved site plan be related to this development be approved as site plan specific, and any alterations from the approved site plan require approval by the mayor and city council. Thank you for your time and consideration regarding this annexation and rezoning application.
Thank you, Ms. Bruce.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I didn't want to interrupt Ms. Bruce, but she brings a very good point. We had Mr. DeThomas amend his application to show that he did make a campaign donation to my campaign. And as such, I will recuse myself at the request of my constituent. And so I guess I'll leave.
So Mr. Warner is stepping out of the room.
6 minutes and 56 seconds remaining.
We have 6 minutes remaining and 56 seconds if someone else would like to speak.
Good evening. My name is Jesse Hunter. I live at 1434 North Road with my wife and children, which is located right here on North Road. I also own the house next door, which is 1450 North Road, and the house next door to that, which is 1454 North Road. So basically from this little notch to this little notch. I understand the land's going to be developed. It's a prime piece of real estate, so I certainly understand that and not trying to stop that. And I do think that application 1, 2, and 3 for the annexation and such is a good idea. Just a couple of points about the variances. I believe Mr. Thompson was saying something to the effect of the best way to keep North Road residential, and I would say, I would propose the best way to keep North Road residential is to not allow a business to have access directly onto North Road. Walmart is the largest retailer in the country. They don't have direct access. Kroger is the second largest retailer in the country. They don't have direct access. Home Depot is the fifth largest retailer in the country. They do not have direct access. I'm sure they would all love direct access, but none of them do. I don't see the need for the second curb cut just going to one office building, which again doesn't match North Road with no businesses on North Road. It's also only two houses, two lots away from the Stratford Drive intersection, which is going to happen. I got that. So that one is going to happen, and I'm actually kind of excited about that one so that we can dead end North Road, because people do fly up and down North Road when I'm taking my second grader to Farr Elementary School. So I understand the need for that. In previous meetings, it was said that one of the main reasons we needed, or that they needed to shrink this buffer right here, was for extra parking at the request of the ale house, because they wanted a lot of parking. And one thing I'm thinking is, in the time of Uber and Lyft, where people don't drive as much as they used to, Uber Eats and DoorDash, where people get food delivered, I'm not sure that we need to sacrifice extra buffer space, or the standard, I shouldn't say extra, the standard buffer space, so that we can have more parking spots that are honestly, I mean, probably never going to be used. So I would ask that you maintain the 30-foot buffer. I do like the design that Mr. Wilson showed with trees, and I also like Gay's suggestion that they come in at 10-foot trees, so you're not planting a 1-foot tree and waiting 6 years for anything to grow. The only other, or a few other things, was no 24-hour restaurants. It would be nice if they had restrictions so that right across the street from my house, they're not emptying dumpsters at 2 in the morning, or people driving through at 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning. I totally understand it's going to be developed. We're probably going to eat at all the restaurants, so that's cool. But just maintain the standard that we see behind Kroger, Walmart, all of those stores, and we eliminate the second access onto North Road. And then I guess also a 2-year maintenance bond for the landscaping, so that they don't just plant a tree, and no fault of anybody's, I'm not going to point fingers, but sometimes trees don't survive. I mean, and especially if Mr. Wilson's talking about planting, I forget, a lot of trees, some of them might not survive. So who's going to replace that so that it actually looks like the picture that they're proposing? I guess that is mostly what I have to say. Thank you very much for attention to this matter, and I would like to maintain the buffer and no business on North Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. We have 2 minutes and 30 seconds if anyone else would like to speak either for or against this development.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Griffin. I live at 1630 Willow Bend Way. It's the third house right here. I can see the whole property from my front door and my yard. Really, my main concerns are about the entrance that our neighborhood is going to be sharing with the property right there. It's pretty dangerous as it is with the amount of people that speed down the street. When you turn left right there, it's kind of like a blind spot because of the hill. And also, I really hope that y'all can put the 24-hour restriction on the restaurants, because at night, we can all still hear the traffic down 124. We can hear the tractor trailer brakes. I can hear the unloading and loading of the tractor trailers at Sam's Club, even though there's a berm and the buffer right there. So I feel like if they put all those restaurants, it's just going to be really loud at night. And that's really all, because I agree with the other speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. 1 minute and 25 seconds, if anyone else would like to speak. Okay, seeing no one else that would like to speak, I will close the public hearing or the public comment section. Oh, yes, Mr. Wilson, if you'd like to come up for a rebuttal?
I thought I had a little bit of rebuttal time.
You do. I'm sorry.
Okay, no.
I was closing the public comment section.
Okay.
So, yes,
Okay,
please.
thank you. I'm sorry, I just didn't want to miss my opportunity. 3 minutes. The campaign contribution was absolutely lawful. It was perfectly permissible, both in the giving and the receiving. There's nothing untoward about that. It's permitted by federal law, protected by the Constitution. It was done properly with full disclosure under state law. And any suggestion or inference to the contrary is just false. Back to the substance of what we're here to talk about. The entrance, this entrance on North Road is important to internal traffic circulation and necessary for us. You remember we talked a little bit about Stratford and the county plans to cul-de-sac North Road once this happens. The result of that is that, as a practical matter, this is going to be a right in, right out. Nobody, once those improvements happen, nobody except maybe Mr. Hunter is going to leave and turn left to go north on North Road. That traffic is going to be North Road or people exiting out the back to move to the right. So I think the safety considerations, all of that's going to change when North Road cul-de-sacs at Scenic Highway. On our tree, the quality and quantity of our trees, I would just point out that our evergreens are going to be 8 feet tall, and our deciduous trees are going to be 6 to 8 feet tall at the time that they're planted in the main. We're not just putting little scrub brushes out there. They have to have some substance and some heft to them in order to create the screen and the buffer that we're talking about. So I think we've addressed that concern. There is no signage on North Road. We've addressed that concern on behalf of our neighbors. These are all site plan specific. This is a site plan specific development. If there's any substantial deviation from the site plan, we go through the zoning process again. We come right back here for revisions. Your noise ordinance applies to this property. So the delivery times and that kind of thing is covered in your noise ordinance. We will comply with that. We don't have any choice but to comply with that, and we're glad to comply with that. Your ordinance also requires us to maintain our landscaping. There are bonding provisions and that kind of thing. Again, Jason will supervise that process. We have to comply. If a tree dies, it will be replaced. The last thing I'll say is just to reiterate kind of where we started. The 24-hour restaurant, that's a Whataburger signature. That's non-negotiable. They won't come if you've got a condition that says they can't be open 24 hours. We can't commit to do this deal without them. So if you can't eliminate that condition, or you can't work with us on the buffer in the ways that we've talked about, we don't intend any disrespect, but we really prefer that you deny our annexation and leave us in the county so that we can continue to work on those issues and have those as viable alternatives. That's not what we want. We very much want to be here and would respectfully request your approval of the annexation, the land use change, and the zoning with the changes that we've talked about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. You had 23 seconds left.
I might can think of something else. Thank you.
Okay. So now I will listen for a motion.
Motion to approve annexation 21-02.
With reference to the ordinance. With reference to ordinance 2021-02.
Okay, give me just a second. With reference to what?
Ordinance 2021-20 on the annexation.
Okay, there's motion to approve the annexation. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion of council on the motion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor of approving the annexation 21-02, please raise your hand. That is 5 in favor and none opposed. The annexation is approved. So now we will move on to, next we will have a motion on the LUP, the land use permit for 2105.
Motion to approve LUP LUP 21-05 with reference to ordinance 2021-21.
There is a motion to approve the land use plan. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Any further comment by council? Seeing none. Did you need something, Jason?
No, I just wanted to clarify the comments, or not the comments, but the conditions that we talked about in the work session during the rezoning. So go ahead. I was
Okay.
going to wait until you got there.
Okay, to the rezoning. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the LUP. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 5 in favor and none opposed. And now we move on to a vote on the rezoning. RZ 21-05. Mr. Thompson, you wanted to clarify some things?
Well, we had discussed previously in the work session about some changes that were sent out to everybody, and if they want to make those changes to the conditions that are currently in the ordinance, want to make sure to remind whoever makes the condition, or if they would like me to read them into the record, I can also do that as well when the condition is, if the recommendation is made for approval.
Okay. So now we're on to the rezoning. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve RZ 21-05 with reference to ordinance 2021-22 with the following changes under the variances. Under number 6, variance 6.
Wait a minute, you're talking on conditions.
That's right.
Yes.
Condition 6.
Conditions, not variances.
Well, they're listed as variances in the ordinance. Variances on page 2 of 9.
Look on the next page, Christie.
There are 2 variances,
Okay.
and then there's
Gotcha.
more conditions.
Okay, sorry. Conditions. So under number 6, we're going to change the sentence to prior to sign construction, final design to be approved by mayor and council. Okay. Is that good? Okay. For condition number 8, a change to read buffer shall be shown as sheet R 2, dated 10/26/2021, with the addition of an 8-foot opaque fence built at the earliest possible time to be built at the interior side of the planted buffer and to be approved by Director of Planning and Development. Fence shall extend the length of the planted buffer along North Road and Stratford Drive. Planted evergreens in the planted buffer shall be a minimum of 8 feet in height where available. With that change, in condition number 8, we will strike number 9 completely. And then one more addition to condition number 13, adding the sentence, "Any deliveries and garbage pickup shall be at times as specified in the Snellville noise ordinance."
So we have a motion to approve with several stated changes to the conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion to approve and a second. Any comments by council? We do have several changes to the conditions and wanted to make sure, will the applicant accept these changes? So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 5 in favor and none opposed. So the application is approved on all 3 counts. With that, that ends our public hearing for tonight. We have nothing under our consent agenda. Oh, and we need to have Mr. Warner come back. There he is. No old business, and under new business, we have one item, consideration and action on ratifying the results of the November 2nd, 2021 general election. And I had those. The results of the election were City Council Post 3. Christy Linsky was the candidate. Total votes 1,260. City Council Post 4. Gretchen Schultz was the only candidate. Total votes 1,263. City Council Post 5, 2 candidates. Catherine Hardrick had a total count of 685, and Todd Warner had a total count of 886. So those are the results of the election. Is there a motion to ratify the results?
Motion to ratify the results of the November 2nd, 2021 election as read by the mayor.
There's a motion to ratify the results. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hands. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. That ends our business for tonight's meeting, so we'll move on to council reports, and we'll start with Councilmember Solange Destang.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Hope that you all had a wonderful weekend, considering we had that extra hour to fall back on so we can acclimate to the time change. Last week, Tuesday, we had our municipal elections. Congratulations to both Catherine Hardrick and Todd Warner on a strong campaign. I would also like to especially congratulate Gretchen Schultz, Christy Linsky, and Todd Warner on their re-election as Snellville City Council members. I know that the 3 of you will continue to move our city forward and to serve as you have been doing. Also, this Thursday, November the 11th, there will be a Veterans Day celebration from 3 to 4 p.m. on the lawn. Please come out and honor our veterans. Enjoy your evening further. See you at our next council meeting, and stay safe. Get home safe and stay safe for the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Solange. Councilmember Warner?
I want to thank everybody who came out and voted, whether you voted for me or whether you voted for my opponent. You were part of the process, and it's very important as a nation, as a city, as a people, that we become involved, we interact, we support good government, and I appreciate everybody who came out and voted. This Saturday, on a lighter note, we are having a car show at Briscoe Park. It runs from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you've got an old car like I have a few, come on out, join the fun. This year, the charity that's being supported by the car show is our Shop with a Cop program, which helps children who may not have Christmas if it weren't for your generosity. So come out, buy some raffle tickets. Like I said, if you've got a car that you could enter, bring it out. We'd love to have you there. I look forward to seeing everybody out there on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Councilmember Linsky?
We have a special event on Wednesday this week at South Gwinnett High School. Congresswoman Carolyn Bordeaux will be visiting us and examining the JROTC program, so we're looking forward to that on Friday. On Saturday this week, November 13th, the Snellville Youth Commission will be doing a construction site tour of our new town center development, so we're excited for that. Hopefully the weather will hold out, we won't have too much rain, and everyone will be equipped with a hard hat. Then please don't forget to put Saturday, November 27th on your calendar, 5 p.m. We'll be riding in the parade for our Christmas tree lighting as well shortly after. So looking forward to that. Lots going on this month. Hope to see you come out.
Thank you, Christy. Councilmember Schultz?
Yes, we got an email last week from Chief Greg Perry that I was very excited about, and I asked him if I could share it with you tonight. Our Snellville Police Department has 2 new canines, and they've been assigned to our canine officers Moore and Cooper, and they have not been in the U.S. very long, and they will begin their formal training in Athens in January with a master canine trainer. So we think that will be a great opportunity to get formal training. I wanted to show their pictures to you. This is the brown and black dog. Its name is Riggs, and it will be assigned to Canine Officer Moore. Then the next one I'm really excited about. This one will be assigned to Canine Officer Cooper, and this the black dog is Mojo Ferris. And those of you that remember my dear friend Marcy Ferris, you know she was very, very involved with the police department, and this dog has been named in her honor, which I think is absolutely wonderful. I did want you to know that the police department is using both drug and the Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association funds to pay for these dogs and to train the dogs. If any of you haven't been involved in the Citizens Police Academy, it's a wonderful opportunity to learn about the day-to-day tasks that our police officers come across and the challenges they face. And the Police Academy Alumni Association meets once a month, and and raises money that helps to provide funds to purchase the dogs and to train the dogs and for things like health insurance for the dogs. So it's a very worthwhile organization. But I did want to introduce you to these two dogs that you'll eventually see around Snellville, I'm sure, once they get their formal training completed. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. And we were saying maybe some of you might like to see these old Bibles after the meeting that we all brought, our old family Bibles. The one I brought was printed in 1807 and is written in German, and it has been handed down to me through my dad's side of the family, and there's notes on the inside of it that were written by my grandfather, William Klein. And I'd love for you to see it because to me it's just a treasure that it's that old.
Thank you, Gretchen. Mayor Pro Tem Emanuel.
You know, I don't know what we would do without our Snellville Police Department. It seems like every time we turn around, they're doing something else that's exemplary, and they consistently go above and beyond, and we've had that history with the police department for as long as I can remember. So I think, as somebody said, if you haven't gone to the Citizens Police Academy, it's really an eye-opening experience, and I think it gives you a little bit more perspective on just how good our officers are. I'd also like to congratulate Gretchen, Christy, and Todd for their dedication. They're three of the best council members I've ever worked with, and I think the citizens of Snellville did themselves a very good job by re-electing all three of them.
Thank you, Dave. And I, too, would like to congratulate our council members, Gretchen and Christy for returning, and Todd for winning your election as well. And I would like to congratulate Catherine Hardrick for stepping up and running for office. It's never an easy thing to do, to put yourself out there, and takes a lot of courage. And I think it's wonderful that she was committed to stepping up and running a campaign, and so I congratulate her for taking that step and doing that effort. But I think the city has been well served with the council that we have, and I appreciate returning all of our members up here so that we can continue on for the next 2 years and see the town center through opening day. So very excited about that. As you've seen, the construction is going like gangbusters. The parking deck, it looks like most of the pieces are almost in. We will be having a little bit more change in the traffic pattern on Oak Road. Some of the on-street parking is going to go away. Not that anybody's parking there now. It's down near the apartments. They're going to move their fencing out to cover that on-street parking so their workers will be able to work on the outside of the building a little more safely. So we will notify you, as we've been on Facebook and also our city website, to let you know of any traffic changes when that's going to occur. So we are working hard with Gwinnett County DOT and our state DOT on public street improvements around the town center to help mitigate some of the traffic that we're going to be adding to the area. So we're continuing to work hard for that. If you've got thoughts and suggestions on ways to move people through, we are all ears. And just know that we're working hard behind the scenes to try to affect some really good changes to the traffic flows so that we can keep things moving. And with that, I will close my mayor's report and open the floor to any public comment. Just please come forward and give your name and address for the record.
Hello, good evening. My name is Lisa Marie Bristol. I live at 4505 Shoemart Drive, which is in unincorporated Snellville. I'm here tonight. Thank you all for the meeting and the foresight. This has been really intriguing and very interesting. I'm here before you all and all of the citizens. I am running for Gwinnett County Solicitor General. I will be on the Democratic primary ballot in the spring. Right now, the election is set for May 24th. Rumors are it might move, but either way, I will be on the Democratic primary ticket. I'm hoping to earn your support and encouragement as I go through this. My family, my husband, and our 3 children, we live here in Snellville. We're in the Shiloh cluster. I have 1 child in each school in my cluster, which makes for interesting mornings. I started my career after leaving Georgia State, class of '09, College of Law. I started as a public defender, spent 4 years working as a public defender in 3 different metro offices, 3 years in Walton County in particular, before transitioning to prosecution. I've worked as a city public defender. I've worked at municipal level all the way up to murders on both sides. I bring a unique perspective to this office. I know the importance of early intervention. I know the importance of effective education to break the cycle at the nonviolent level, and that's what I hope to do and bring to this office. I also hope to encourage more community involvement and gaps in services to ensure that our victims are receiving all of the resources that they desperately need, because there are 2 sides to this. So that's a little bit about me. I don't want to take up all of the time. I see the timer is going. However, if anyone has any questions, I do have some material here tonight, excuse me, and I would love to speak with anyone about my vision and why I'm running and why I've decided with 3 children in 3 schools, this is a good time to run a countywide race while working as a full-time senior ADA in another county. But that's okay. We'll talk about my sadism later. Thank you all so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it. I look forward to meeting you and getting to know you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Ms. Bristol.
Short. I see short. Todd says short. I just wanted to say hello. My name is Rebecca Mitchell. Address, do you need full address here? 3332 Crossing Drive, Snellville technically, but not Muni. I just wanted to remind everyone that the redistricting session is happening right now at the Capitol, and it's great if folks can tune in, listen to the hearings, leave feedback, be aware what's happening with who your representation will be, and I also wanted to mention that if you go to the car show and it's cold this weekend and you think, man, a bowl of chili would be really nice right now, you can swing from the car show over to the Greater East Side Chamber of Commerce chili cook-off, because I intend to win and I need people to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Mitchell.
Hello, Mayor.
Hello.
And council members, how are you? Catherine Hardrick, 2280 Buckley Trail. I wanted to say congratulations to everyone, Todd, Christy, and Gretchen. Congratulations on your race. And I just want to say thank you. We ran a good race, and the citizens have spoken. To continue to partner, to continue to bring more outreach. And when you mentioned about the Police Citizens Academy, it was paused, so I don't know if it started back, because earlier I had tried to come in because of COVID. So has it started back enrolling?
Yeah, has the new class started?
It'll be in the spring.
In the spring.
Okay, right, all right.
In the spring. It usually starts in March, so.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and so in the spirit of honoring our veterans, and I am a disabled veteran, I'm asking that you guys consider Soldiers Angels and adopting a veteran for Veterans Day, adopting a family for the holidays. So if you can look into soldiersangels.org.
That was Soldiers Angels?
Angels.org. And then you'll have an opportunity to adopt a veteran's family for the holidays that are in need, because any soldier that is experiencing homelessness or food insecurities is a travesty for anywhere. Right, and so that's my mission, to spread the word, to try to help every veteran. And in Snellville, we have 1,600 veterans. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I think Christy might have mentioned it, we do have a Veterans Day celebration or remembrance. What do we call it? On Thursday at 3 o'clock in front of the Veterans Memorial. We are not closing Oak Road. I'm sorry, did I say something wrong? At 3 o'clock, we are not closing Oak Road, but we plan to have a few chairs to set up there. So if you'd like to come out and join us at 3, probably just be about 30 to 40 minutes. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion, is there a second? Motion is second, all in favor, raise your hand. That is 6 in favor and none opposed. Thank you all for coming out tonight.